Do we have a Credo volunteer?
I'll read it, okay?
Okay, Peter, thanks.
The Pellin Credo, ground rules for the Peter Fleming Forum. The ground rules in the Pellin Credo are designed to support a safe, nourishing environment. 1, we ask that you come to the meeting with a clear head, free of the influence of drink and drugs. 2, in any Pellin setting, you keep control of the pace and depth of your sharing. You may pass or say no to any suggestion. Your no will be accepted and not judged or analyzed. No means no. 3, even though the meetings are recorded, we ask that people respect the confidentiality of those present and do not share anything they heard outside the meeting. 4, in Pellin work, we have a strict no gossip rule. Gossip means we do not talk about anyone who is not present, even in a pleasant way. Okay, so will we do the names and location? I'll go first. I'm Peter, and I'm in Norfolk in England. Victoria?
I'm Victoria, and I'm in Paris, France.
Johnny?
Hello, my name's Johnny Abla. I'm located in Los Angeles, California.
Nan, and welcome.
Hi, I'm Nan with the Bruised Eyes, and I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay. Nikki?
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm in Wimbledon, London.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rosenberg, and I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Cynthia?
I'm Cynthia Thinnis, and I am in Kankakee, Illinois.
Vic?
Hi, I'm Vic Flagg. I'm in Abbotsford, British Columbia, an hour out of Vancouver.
Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Gilliman. I'm in Rosarito Beach, Mexico.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. What we're going to look at today is following up on the work we've been doing on feelings of accomplishment. We've been doing a series on feelings of accomplishment, Nan, and relating those to some of the other tools we've presented at other times. And that will be all familiar to you, and good to see you. Yeah, so we've done quite a bit of work on feelings of accomplishment. I guess I want to go over that a bit. And I'm relating the feelings of accomplishment today to David Pellin's concept, which is a little bit hard to grasp, that he called authority. Yeah.
Is that okay? I just did preparatory work in the group about feelings of accepted and rejected actions was what we advertised.
Right.
But
right.
you change. Well, no, you want to change it?
No. I don't want to change it. I guess I've been around the material so much I can be very slick and say, I didn't forget that. I'm just relating accepted and rejected efforts to authority, okay? Anyway, I guess that's a privilege of an old pro. So thank you. And rejected and accepted efforts. I do want to be part of this, what we will in a moment be calling the accepted effort. In many ways is synonymous with, it's almost the same as feelings of accomplishment. It's just coming at feelings of accomplishment from a slightly different angle. So let me go straight into that. But preface that a little bit by David Pellin's concept of authority, and we build our authority with feelings of accomplishment and accepted effort, so they fit together, said he slickly. But David's concept of authority, to me, is one of his not few points of absolute originality, on the one hand. And on the other hand, there's nothing new under the sun, and all he was saying, if you got the right job, it'll really help with your mental illness. So on the one hand, it's sort of ordinary and common sense, and on the other hand, because he uses the word authority in a very particular way, it's part of our jargon in Pellin. Like the calm of the pendulum is not necessarily still and tranquil. It can be full of great passion, but in the calm of the pendulum, we got choices about what we're going to do with that great passion. As people, you know, and I think the wise, brilliant, stunning choices that from, you know, small rural towns to the great cities of your country, you know, people are making really precise, never having heard of Pellin, never having heard of our pendulum, but people are making quite precise decisions about what they're going to do with their emotions of rage and anger. And you can just see it on the news. You can see people making those choices in the middle of the pendulum. So as we define the calm of the pendulum in a particular way, and it is the place where we've got the greatest range of choices about what we want to do with our intense feelings, as well as a place where we can listen and get rest and let other people get rest. In a similar way, so we use the word calm in a particular way. In a similar way, we use the word authority in a particular way. And to say it quickly, what authority is, it's authority in something. It's authority in Shakespeare. It's authority in American history. It's not authority over. It's not authority in the sense of an authority figure or the ability to hire and fire, which is almost the ordinary way we use the word authority. We're using the word authority in another way. And what authority is, in a sense, it is the accumulation of our feelings of accomplishment. It's the accumulation of both our feelings of accomplishment and our accomplishment themselves. Authority is, and in a broad brush sense, authority is our work. authority is that which people will pay us money for. David called it a socially accepted force. So,
I come in with a quick example.
yeah.
When I came to America in '99 with many years of Pellin training or several years of Pellin training under my belt, I didn't have any authority in California because nobody had heard of it. When I had gone through the grueling process of getting a marriage and family license, therapy license, I immediately have some authority because that is something that theoretically people will pay money for when they don't yet know about Pellin, so they can't recognize. And when I was a student, it was difficult with my supervisors because I was older than them and they could tell I had a lot of therapeutic experience, but I had zilch authority because I was just a student.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, because it's not modeling for people, are you going back to rejected and accepted efforts?
Oh, yeah. Because if you don't have the right authority, you're in trouble. And when I was talking about purpose and the search for purpose on Sunday, I talked about how the great university of the world, the bazaars of purpose for the privileged, and how the privileged often keep less privileged people from finding purpose, and particularly from finding sustaining purpose. In a similar way, and I say this with modesty and respect, that the way people of color in America are very effectively kept down is, let's prevent them from finding authority or accumulating authority or building authority. And of another time in America, another time in American history, a friend of mine worked a guy called Dick Soll, worked very extensively in the war on poverty and the OEO, Office of Economic Opportunity. And they had, I can't remember the terminology, but the assets people needed to have to get out of poverty. And that was education. They were the two things. And in a sense, those two things are almost classic representation of people being able to build authority. So the whole part of our work that is about people having authority and purpose has got a lot of political implications, what's happening in America today. And, people don't have authority. They, as you know, Nan, as a national expert, if people don't have authority, they go to drugs. All the people who got pulled into the opioid crisis.
Peter, I just read a figure yesterday that 71% of white people in America own their home, and something like 43, I can't remember, in the 30s and 40s for Black and Latinos.
Yeah.
It's so telling, isn't it?
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Quick question. Is authority strictly related to the world of work?
No. And again, it's one of those sort of broad brush approaches. In the main it is, okay? In the main. But certainly what's happening now, and I think it's and this is a place, thanks for the question, because it's crucial. This is a place where we talk about tools, okay? And the aim is to teach the tools so they're clear and accessible and usable. And the statement I make frequently is Pellin is practical or it's nothing. So authority is a tool, okay? Now, authority is the feeling inside ourselves that we have something that has a social, David's definition, a socially accepted force in the world. So when I'm teaching at broad brush, I say, you know, it is that which someone or the market will pay us money for. And
Peter, I just need to ask who the anonymous person is. Just, I've let somebody in. I don't know if there's somebody who's part of us. Could you just identify yourself?
This is Cease. I'm on my iPhone.
Okay, Steve. I thought it was probably one of us. That's why I let you in. But
okay,
I'm sure other people may not know. But I've been in a lot of meetings with intruders.
Yeah.
So I was careful. And then I wanted, when you have a moment, Peter, I wanted to make a point relevant to authority that's not money.
Yeah. I just want to get this through.
Yeah.
I guess if you can go back to 1974, see, you're not a stranger, okay? Was it 74 or 75?
That I was there?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't want somewhere in the early 70s, but I don't remember.
Anyway, one of those dates. Anyway, to come in, and come back to your question. So teaching at broad brush, you know, it's our job, it's what we get paid for. That's authority. It's very broad brush. But then when you're actually using the tools, it's much more subtle than that, okay? There's an authority. It's not all of it, being a parent, but there's a certain authority in being a really good parent. There's all sorts of other side of it that lies elsewhere. And we've got to be careful in defining it this way and what is happening now. And as I talked about last week, you know, going to a demonstration can go all the way from superficial purpose to underlying purpose to sustaining purpose. But the people who are going on those demonstrations and making an impact, and say the impact they're making in the small towns and some of the small rural towns, and you know, there's 60 people going on a demonstration, or there's, you know, 75 or 100. There's an authority there for sure. And there is, because one of the things that I've developed from what David gave me is our concept of authority is a surprisingly powerful way of looking at a lot of mental illness.
Can I just give an example
Yeah,
to do with the current situation? It just popped into my head, so I'm a bit bursting. A common theme, if you go to any Black-led Zoom forum, like I have been for the last week or so, is that you keep hearing, respect the Black leadership, listen to the Black leadership, accept the Black leadership. And what they're saying is, we have the authority to speak about Blackness and you white guys don't, right? So listen for once, because we have that authority from our lived experience.
And we would, you know, it's a very powerful, sorry, I'm fiddling with papers. It's a very powerful and subtle tool once you get into it, because one of the ways we look at authority, and one of the ways David defined it, is authority equals responsibility. So we have authority to the extent that we're carrying out the responsibilities that we have accepted, okay? This is a part of the work that in some ways is different. It's got a different feel. I've written at times about one way to understand Pellin is it almost has a different accent, partly because where it came from a very unusual source. But that's what authority is, to clearly look at accepted and rejected actions. And I'm just going to look at that part of it here. Because this part of the work has another diagram attached to it and other parts of this particular part of David's work that I haven't quite developed clearly. So I'm just staying with accepted and rejected action. And in some ways, there's in part, I would say it's one of the absolute best things he came up with, and yet it's very simple. What an accepted action is, and here we're relating it to feelings of accomplishment, because those of you who've been here before, we've looked at this another time. The accepted action is the thing when we really enjoy what we're doing. It is almost that simple. We are enjoying what we're doing. We're enjoying what we're doing on a moment.
Sorry, Peter, accepted action or accepted effort?
No, accepted effort. Thank you. And there's a little bit of history there that I prefer the word accepted effort, and then I changed it at one point to accepted action. So
yeah, my mistake. I didn't know it had been changed back, so I've been talking about actions. So
yeah, no, it's accepted effort.
Accepted effort. Okay.
Yeah. We're putting forth the effort to reach a goal, but we're enjoying what we're doing. And if we are in the accepted effort, we will reach the goal. If we're not in the accepted effort, we won't. Not being in the accepted effort isn't being what we call the rejected effort. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the accepted, almost the trick with this tool is to understand it and use it and then have a feel for it. So it's almost saying, yeah, this is an accepted effort for me. And that's precious, okay? So one of the things we talk about in the accepted effort, it's a bit like feeling, not a bit like, it's almost synonymous with feelings of accomplishment. So this is the whole part of our work that is behavioral, action-oriented, very practical, non-psychological and non-analytical almost. So it's recognizing when we're in the accepted effort. And then when we're talking about the accepted, we're talking about feeling, now it's a Zen thing. I talk about, times I call it the Zen of doing. Now I'm enjoying it, doing it. Now I'm enjoying doing, now I'm enjoying doing. We are heading toward a goal, but we're not directly focused on the goal, as Vic picked up here at another time. We're not oriented to the goal. Everything's not about the goal. We're enjoying doing it now. And you can almost, it does have relevance, which I've been thinking a lot about lately.
Quick comment.
Yeah, Vic.
I remember a line from David's poems that over the years I've thought about many, many times, and just one line was, "I count the second." And I find that really interesting because I'm connecting it with what you just said now, which is to be enjoying the effort in terms of the direction, right? And so Pellin had this one line in one of his poems, "I count the second." I think perhaps it's related to what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And in a way it is. It's all, yeah, except the poet Blake talked about, I haven't got the quote right, but talked about happiness that can sort of fly by us. And we've got to be careful if we try and hold on to it too much, it'll go away. The accepted there's something about the accepted.
It's William Blake who was talking about happiness being a butterfly.
Yeah, say it again, Vic. Give it to me again.
It's William Blake,
Yep.
and he was talking about it as a butterfly. I'll write it in the chat if you wish.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So there's a certain delicacy about this. On the other hand, it's real sort of heavy and heavyweight. You know, if someone's opening a new business, and that's going to have to be an accepted effort if it's going to succeed. There's going to be all sorts of heavy stuff around, hiring the right people, finding the right market, getting the finances in place, all of that. But in another way, there'll be a certain sort of lightness to it. In that world, with all MBAs and business plans and models and stuff, the good business person can, often sit down at Denny's and put the whole thing on the back of an envelope. That's almost the great business people have a lightness to it, while at the same time, forging ahead in ways that may or may not be admirable. A politician who has that enjoyment in the moment of being there, enjoyment in the moment of doing what they're doing. The accepted action brings feelings of accomplishment in, and what we talk about in this part of the work is recognize the accepted effort. Sorry if I muddle up the words a bit. Recognizing the accepted effort and protecting it. And one of the ways we can, and again, this part of the work is very simple. That's why in presenting it to people, we've got to be careful to give it enough razzmatazz that comes across. And one of the ways to protect the accepted effort is to simply quit while we're ahead. Don't stay there beyond the point where it's going to turn sour. Being at a party and it's an accepted effort and it's all great, stay too long, it turns a bit sour at the end, and they're feeling about the whole thing. And of course, the accepted effort, in the way I've developed it, has got really wide applications, from family therapy to sex therapy to preparing kids for college to getting people through PhD programs, to parenting. If parenting stops being an accepted effort, that's dangerous. And it's part of the work where I say about the Pellin tools, there's real precision to them, okay? We're either in the accepted effort or we're not in the accepted effort. There's not much wiggle room in there. Just to go on, I realize I'm putting a lot out today. Rejected efforts are when we are not enjoying what we're doing. We are, just to sort of come back to fundamental feel for it. In the accepted effort, we accept the effort we're putting in. So, when I'm teaching it like this, I say it's enjoying what we're doing. And again, like Elizabeth's question, is it just work? No, there can be things outside of work that can really bring authority. And they're all over the news right now. Authority is something you can see in people, okay? It's sort of visible. Someone who gets a promotion or gets a job when they've been struggling to get a job, you can feel the authority there. And when someone doesn't have that anymore, you can almost feel they almost have less presence, they have less sort of panache or power in the world because they don't have the authority anymore. And that can be quite cruel. As Mary.
I just want to say my great aunt taught in a teacher's training college, and she said the whole of the first year of probationary teaching, everyone struggled. And when they came back in the second year, they were all teachers.
Yes, exactly. And I think you can see, because, Vic.
So I can give a quick example, I think, of what you're talking about. For a number of years, I've been part of a very, very large online forum. We're talking about 10,000 people. And gradually, you have a username, right? And gradually, I built up a little bit of a profile, not a big one, but I became known, and I was making a contribution, and I, a little bit of authority. And then very, very, very recently, well, actually, over the last year or so, I started to feel things that were going on in the forum and that were being given a lot of attention were not what I liked, and were not positive, and we're not at all what I wanted. And then suddenly something really, really, really bad got sort of let into the forum, right? And I won't give the details, but it got to the point where, again, my accepted effort that I'd got over some years in this forum and just being in there, and then I could either say something or not, but I'd still have this accepted effort, community, and everything else. All of a sudden was well, not all of a sudden, but it grew, and then it became negative. And so I in the last 48 hours, I got out of it, right? And I can remember I commented to my wife after I got out of it, I was sitting there saying, I feel really depressed. And I didn't even make a connection that it was that. Now, when I look back, I think, 6-7 years of contribution. And again, this comes back to what I think whoever it was, Elizabeth, said, this was not paid work. So, but I had a little bit of authority, right? This is, after 6 years on a forum with 10,000 people, and you become known, so that let's say my username was, Henry 3 or something. Oh, Henry 3 said such and such, So that suddenly that disappeared, and so that's connects with the fact that authority isn't always a paid thing, and also the accepted and rejected effort. My effort became rejected because the environment changed, and maybe that's
And what these tools are about, accepted and rejected efforts, is being able to recognize that. And it does have, in terms of the field of psychology and psychotherapy, it's very behavioral. We're not looking at almost, not completely, but at times we're not looking about why something is an accepted effort. We're just saying it is an accepted effort, And I recognize that, and I need to protect it. One of the ways to protect it is quit while we're ahead. And the other ways is to have, at times, small goals rather than big goals. And another thing is not focusing on the goal, not having all the focus on the goal. I mean, 3 things we do: quit while we're ahead, small goals rather than big ones, and not focusing on the goal are ways we can protect the accepted effort. And we need to do that. You know, and again, I feel, and I say this with pride, not apology, a lot of our work is sort of codified common sense. On some level, people know this. People who are really good parents know they've got to not be so devoted to their kids that they're not taking some time on their own away from the kids, because that's protecting the accepted effort of being a parent. And I'm sure on a common sense level, these tools, people knowing them without knowing us, are what got people through, you know, being locked down with 3 teenagers, or 2 or 3 little ones. Hard work. But some people kept that an accepted effort, and some people it went into a rejected effort. So these particular tools have a lot of applications. You know, losing weight, quitting drugs, quitting booze, getting fit. These tools are absolutely relevant to those situations. Got really wide applications. I've got to do more with this in terms of getting it tightly presented. Just to go on to the rejected effort quickly, and I'll try to I'll try to ask you more questions and stop presenting so much stuff. But the rejected effort is when we're not doing things. And again, it is that simple. Oh yes, I want to go back to the accepted effort for a moment and the sort of subtlety of it. If someone's going to get to the top of Everest, that climb is an accepted effort. Are they enjoying it, quote unquote? That's a complicated question, okay? So there's a lot of subtlety. While it's as simple as I've presented it, there's a lot of subtlety in it. You know, enjoying the pain of the last, you know, half day's climb to the top of the mountain. No, that is going to be painful. So in understanding the accepted effort, we've got to sort of play with the tool. I think that's a lot with the Pellin tools. It's sort of playing with them, getting familiar with them. I talk about grasping them and just sort of weighing it. You know, how does this hammer feel in my hand? You know, how does accepted efforts feel in my hand? Because at times, enjoying things is a very complicated statement. And the accepted effort is a very complicated statement. So at times it's agony, but in a way we are accepting it. You know, people who row the Atlantic on their North Atlantic on their own, or, you know, or extreme sports, or myself trying to do my writing. You know, at times it's sort of agony. But there is a way I accept it, and I accept it in a way I can do it every day. But if I,
oh, sorry.
if I get to the point of, oh, I'm really on a stream, and this is just me, I'm not saying this is everyone. So I write 5 pages. That for me is really dangerous. I've got a habit of doing that. And then, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years pass before I get back to it. I've got to stick with the sort of 2 pages. And if I go longer, it doesn't matter. And I do the same thing with swimming. If I go longer, I've got to make sure the next day I write half a page. Otherwise, I'll mess up the whole accepted effort. Just by, I don't quite know what it is for me. I get into it, I feel good about myself. I guess it's almost swing of the pendulum. Let me sort of leave it there. We'll be doing something similar to this material on Sunday, okay?
So, Peter, I just thought of a really interesting thing in relation to trying to get sober. I just thought that function of one of the functions of AA is it helps the agony of trying to be sober become an accepted effort because of all the extra tools and company and support.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what they do. And, Dave had a different way of saying this part around addictions. He said, you don't expect anyone to give up anything unless you've got something to put back. And what AA does is put back, put back, put back. And if you look at, they make that they turn the rejected effort into an accepted effort, partly because of the socializing, the sense of community that builds up, sense of community underlined by a sponsor. I mean, if you look at it, if you step back from AA and look at it from our point of view, they tick all the boxes. I don't mean that from the point of view of we can describe how AA works. I mean from the point of view of AA in a more general application of it can support what we're trying to do. We're on the same track.
And I was thinking that Al-Anon, the addiction of Al-Anon people, families and friends of alcoholics, is needing to be in control. And I thought of a second one, but I forgot it. And focusing on the outside. The two things in Al-Anon are focus on the outside, on the alcoholic, and on needing to be in control. And the support in Al-Anon means that you recognize that you're as sick as the alcoholic, and you have all this stuff to support the accepted action of letting go of that control.
And just to bring in, because this series of, that we started 3 weeks ago, they're about connections between the different tools. The first part of it, Nan, was just laying the tools out. Now we're sort of putting 2 together, what I'm calling connections. Accepted effort and feelings of accomplishment and being absolutely in that, and then combine that with a very high swing of the pendulum, and you could get to the point where you don't sustain the productivity, you don't sustain the accepted effort. And this is the connection between the tools, because the low that follows from the high, the very powerful accepted effort, can sabotage the accepted effort. Or you think you're great, but it's really sort of meaningless. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Peter, I don't know. Oh, sorry, Stacey, go ahead.
Well, in AA, the chips help with the sobriety thing because it's like, wow, I'm a newcomer. I got an orange chip, and wow, I got 24 hours, so I've got an orange chip. Wow, I've got a white chip. Now I've got it, the different colors and the different days, 30, 60, 90, 6 months, 9 months, and then eat a birthday cake. And
Yeah.
it's just a celebration of abstinence from alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's like a big deal. And 9 months it takes to make a person. So I always say that to the chippies, well, 9 months, you're a person now. You've made yourself a person. and with sustained effort, it's hard for me to write because of the arthritis. So yeah, I'm better off if I do 2 pages, but I like to draw and write, and I just push through. I just power through, and then I don't for like a month. And then I go back to it. So I understand.
Yeah, in that sort of situation, these tools can be really useful. Okay, I'm really into this. Maybe I'll protect it a bit because I'll think about what I want to do over the next 2 days, is not what I'm doing today.
I just wanted to come in and say that in the absence of having a chance to talk about it, when I sent the newsletter out, I said, I don't know if you saw this, I said we'd be doing, excuse me, taking control, but I said we'd be doing the pendulum and accepted and rejected efforts.
Well,
And you
yeah.
just touched on it, so I thought I'd mention that I've already pre-advertised that one.
Yeah, no, and to cover that, and we'll also extend these topics for Sunday. In a way, accepted and rejected efforts and the pendulum as our survival and feelings of accomplishment. Okay, that's our survival kit. Okay, and if you're getting the feelings of accomplishment, if you're in the accepted effort, you've got to be careful of the pendulum swings. You've got to use the pendulum to protect the accepted effort. And also to protect the feelings of accomplishment. In some way, for many of us, nothing is more important than protecting our feelings of accomplishment, because it's simply the nature of the pendulum, and you can tell I'm someone who can get very high. I can get high on teaching, I can get high on writing, I can get high on plans. Do you want me to come up with a new project? It'll take me about 3 minutes, okay? It's a bit...
Can I just caution, Peter, that I think we've covered so many different tools, and I really request that we don't do the pendulum in this today, because it's kind of like a mosaic today, and normally we have a little bit of clarity.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I do. When you move on to it, I have something that I found out about rejected action efforts that I'd like to share, but I don't know when you're going to move on to that.
Yeah, let's stay with this for a minute.
Yeah,
do you want to say anything, Cynthia?
Oh, I had a thought as you were talking that put some words to something I'm trying to do, but I don't know if it's kind of back to what you were talking about, authority, so I can pass and wait till we're in a better spot, if that's okay.
No, just bring it in anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Well, I was thinking about something when you were talking about authority, and one of my projects that I've been working on, and actually in conjunction with Mary and Elizabeth, but it put words to something that in our society, authority is a lot of times very associated with very masculine tasks, whether a man or a woman is doing it. I mean, some of the issue with the feminists was, getting women involved, but it was still in a masculine way, and authority, and actually in women it's even more so, seeing that. So somebody being feminine, somebody like wearing dresses, or just even doing gentle things is almost synonymous with not having authority. And it's just put words to something that I've been trying to explain and write about and talk about, and some of it has to do with even people who don't know anything about astrology, or it has to do with some things that happened since the ancient Greeks, where they stripped from even like the stars or the cosmos the authority of the feminine, and relegated to this very small place that so that's just, sorry, there's just a thought that just popped up, so I don't have a whole lot of.
No, I think it's a crucial, absolutely crucial application of this part of the work. And just absolutely crucial. I feel it's one of our most significant contributions, and this goes back a long way for us, because the first recognition we got in America, the first recognition I got in America was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and that was before I'd set up in Italy, before I'd set up the Pellin Institute. But at that time, Ann Arbor was a center of a lot of radicalism in America. You know, Ann Arbor, Berkeley, Madison, Cambridge. And one of the recognitions I got was around authority and what it had to say, all the social forces that define that which women do as not being, not having authority in the way we define it. And people just, that was the start of the women's movement in America. And they just grabbed it and gave Pellin a lot of recognition. In a way, that was our launch. So thank you for the question. Victoria, you were going to say something.
Yes, 3 things as always. One, authority for me is something what I dare, like what I dare to claim. Also, if I'm not so good at it, but I would like to be, like you say, well, Pellin is about the best way to learn is to teach. And so when I start teaching something, I'm not very sure. But once I start teaching and I struggle with my fears and doubts, then it becomes my authority because I dare. That's for me. I'm not claiming. Yeah. So this is how I see the connection. The second thing is about how to, on the path, when you know we're not well attached to the goal, and yet we're moving towards some goals in life. And in my case, there are plenty of rejected efforts that I try to turn into. So for me, this transition is very important, how to make it. And number 3 is, unfortunately, I have to go at 8 today. But I want to say my personal goodbye. Okay. And I still listen for a few minutes.
Yeah. Thank you for that, and thanks for coming. But I think that's really important, and this is some of the I want to claim them straight across the board, the political implications of this work. Because white men of privilege assume they've got authority, assume it's going to come their way. They don't have to take a risk about it. They don't feel it's in any way a risk. It's going to fall in their lap. So one of the ways, and going back to Cynthia's point, one of the ways we use these tools is to look at those situations. So for years, 2 parts of my life that were my interest in politics and my interest in therapy, and I'm bringing those 2 together quite deliberately now. And I think what you've said here, has given me one of those ends. Shelley.
Hi. Well, I'm trying to remember, what is that famous quote about? It's not the destination, it's the journey, right? Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah. It. So it's great because I can trace when I enjoy it, when I'm doing therapy. Yeah. it feels really good, and I'm right there in the moment, even if the client is going through something very painful. I'm actually enjoying helping, being there with them in their pain. But I can see times where I've probably, gone too far in a sense. I probably needed to read their signals better and terminate sooner or something like that. So I get that, sometimes you don't want to keep going when you think it's sometimes gauging when it's not an accepted effort or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I'm saying it right, but I'm kind of tracing it that way.
Yeah, this is one of the ways where I feel the jargon, I've got particular takes on jargon, mainly I'm opposed to it. But I think jargon serves two functions. One is to learn something. When we're learning something, we often need to repeat the jargon over and over again. And then another part, in my view, is that it gives us some distance from the hurt. And it gives us, if you remember, it gives us some different distance from the attraction to hurt we might be in. So instead of going on and on and on about how I can't finish some writing, I can just say, that's a rejected action. What am I going to do about it? And we're going to do more about that next week, but I don't want to just be talking here. Nan, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I do. I think one of the challenges I'm having in my life transition is, when my goal was just developing programs, being more efficient at our agency, helping people, I was fine. When the goal became I had to keep my board happy, it was horrible. So it was all rejected effort. But now I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur, and I'm working with Anjanita, and I'm having a really hard time because money, although I love money and wish you would all just give me money, like tons of money, money's not a great goal for me. So that me trying to build my own business, I'm needing a different goal so that my efforts will be acceptable. Does that make sense? Because so I almost don't like
yeah,
have
and
a new
also
goal, because I want money, but it's not a great motivator.
Yeah.
So just making money isn't. I'm having tons of rejected efforts.
Yes, and that's where we've been doing a lot of that here, and we'll be doing some more of it on Sunday, but that's this, okay?
Yeah.
And that's where, as an entrepreneur, it's got to be like that.
No. Well, that's a stretch for me, isn't it?
And of course, it's not a stretch for me, is it?
No, I know. So yeah, I mean, I'm just really yeah.
But
I'm
that
trying.
is, and that's sort of useful because, and not talking about me, not you, but how can I be really, really organized about my contacts? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can make the material life force side of it stronger. And that we're bringing in these two. Okay, it's almost a play on words, but almost accepting the rejected effort. It's a bit like work other people do about, facing the fear and accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost facing the rejected effort and accepting it. And more on rejected effort next week, but as Mary said, I don't want to overlay it here. Vic.
Yeah, so just to connect both with what Nan said and with what you just said, Peter, not too long ago, I finished writing a book, a year or so writing it, sent it to 3 publishers, declined with all 3 publishers. And And then I got to the point where, and connecting with this, writing the book, I was getting a lot of accepted effort. This is the right thing for me to do. This is in the groove. This is the right thing. And I wrote this book and sent it off to 3 publishers, got declined with all of them. And then I got a kind of quote unquote inspiration of putting a little different twist on it, and thought, yeah, well, now I could go again. You know, just do not a big rewrite, but a rewrite and set it. Now I'm thinking, gee, I don't know. I don't know if I want to invest all that emotion in that again. And as Peter just said, face the rejected effort again, right? Because I could get, and again, connecting with what Nan said about money, I'm exactly the same way. Money isn't a big motivator for me, but boy, do I ever need it. I mean, I really need it. And, you know, as this is the proverbial story of writers, right? And so, I can really relate to that a lot. And yeah, finding the trick of how to turn rejected effort into accepted, or as Peter said, face it, is well worth a topic to think.
Cease, do you want to come in?
She may not know how to unmute herself. I'll see if I can do it from here. Oh, let me see if that works. Yes, there you go, Cease. You're unmuted now. Maybe she's not there. Are you there, Cease?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Thanks, Cease.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer is broken, and so I can't do the online. So the accepted effort is, I think, really important for me to figure out exactly. I have a lot of ideas, and I think, oh, I want to do all these things, and then maybe I'll start some, but not really realizing how much effort I'll need to put in to really reach the goals that I want to. And is that part of accepted effort?
Yeah, it very much is, and it's also part of sort of setting goals and assessing goals, which we're not doing today, but I will bring into what we do on Sunday. Let me just say one thing about this, and yeah, anyway, just to say it terribly quickly, David had this as a triangle, okay, literally a triangle, and he sort of had the pendulum and the triangle, these two very powerful diagrams, and I sort of couldn't quite make the triangle work, so I sort of dropped it for years, and a lot of other things were around. But I want to bring it back. So part of the triangle is choosing the goals and assessing the goals. And I'll bite that particular rejected effort for me and bring in the triangle on Sunday. About time. Yeah. But that's absolutely relevant to that. Johnny, do you want to come in?
Hello. So I learn a lot by just listening to everybody. And so I'm glad Mary said it was mosaic, because I was like kind of lost a little bit, but then my brain was putting all the pieces together. So when you said it, I was like, oh, perfect. We're on the same page. So what I got, it's interesting when you say about authority, because my personality is against authority, but then I love having the authority. So, and this kind of reminds me of a little bit of Jordan Peterson, because doing these talks, I realized I had this monster in me. And then I realized, okay, so now I know I got this monster. I'm like, okay, so I don't need to have this monster. Then I found out that you're supposed to have the monster. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm on the right track. Yes, because I always felt, and I love about the pendulum what you said, and it was like it gives you that. It's not that you're not. It's you are still who you are. It's just with that pendulum. For me, it's like you still have the light. You still have your fire, but without burning anybody, because it gives you that time to go, all right, what's the better choice here? What's the wisdom? What's gonna play out sustainability wise? Is it better to kill Hitler, or is it better just go buy him a box of chocolate and give him some love, So it's like, let's see here, because then that, and so where he was saying is you can't have virtues if you didn't know you're a monster. And I was like, because I always felt that. I was like, the only reason why I'm not killing you and putting you in a body bag right now is because of my mama. And so know thy enemy. And I loved what it was Cynthia, right? Cynthia was saying about women and authority and everything. And so I'm like that evil. That's how I thought my school board is, because I was getting rejected. Like, I'm like, wait, I'm the only person in the state of California with a teaching credential that's actually from a farm. And you guys are telling me this is the wrong, and in the process of it, I discovered, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just going to say it, something I heard was the most dangerous thing you can do to a human being, the most destructive thing you can do to a human being is to, when they are doing good, to make them feel like they're doing bad. And that goes across all races, all genders, all anybody, because what I love is when you said goodwill. So I tried that with my girlfriend. I was like, all right, Dina, I don't know if you're listening to me. She's been in quarantine with her mother for 3 months, like in a bubble. Like, I can't even get there, and it's like I'm in this virtual relationship. And then finally she's like, and then I finally just said, Dina, I'm coming from a good place. I'm coming from goodwill. And I took the fire out, but left the light. And it worked. So thank you. And the other thing I wanted to hit on was when you said, see, that's the thing about teaching for me. I felt that it gave me that purpose, but it's as if you get the right job, it'll help you with your, with your mental stuff. And that's what it did for me in the beginning. And where I got lost was I didn't have these tools. So if I had to go do teaching all over again or pass this on to future teachers, this course would be in that. This section needs to be in there, because what burns out teachers is constantly trying to get acceptance and approval and feeling that you're enough. And then all of a sudden you're rejected. Like, I went out and raised $500 and the school goes, oh, okay, so now we're going to take $500 out of your budget. I went, wait, whoa. What do you mean? And they said, well, now you have $500 extra than all the other teachers. I said, yeah, but my students and I went out and sold like hot dogs and hamburgers and churros at a football game. Like, we worked for that shit, Yeah, but now your budget's going to be less. And then it was just like this mental game of the more I work, the deeper in debt I'm going to get. And I grew up in a large Portuguese family with 9 kids. So that's why I kind of just rebelled a little bit, because it was I know I'm going on a tangent, but it goes back to that and
you're frozen a little bit.
Pretty much maybe walk away from your purpose. Oh, my bad. Yeah. You there? Yeah. So I guess if you get rejected enough, that's how I felt. I got rejected so many, we were like national champions, like boom, boom, boom. No matter, we brought in our own money. We took away every excuse from a public school, and they still did it. And it was just like, I went, wow, the system's broken. And then I heard the quote the other day that the system's not broken, it was built that way. So I felt empowered with you guys. And it's interesting when you mean authority, because this morning I posted on Instagram literally what I did for a living in front of all of Hollywood. It was like, now to them that's probably no big deal, but for me, I was hiding that. And I expressed that. I said, well, it's time to rebuild America the right way. And so as a kid, it always bothered me. It was like, well, how can everyone be equal and then we have slaves? You know what I mean? Like, you want me to listen to you and follow your authority, but yet your authority has now encaged people. Like, my brain goes back and forth going, okay, I want to listen, I want to obey. And then that's where Jordan Peterson said, hey, you know what makes a good Nazi soldier is following the orders, being obedient. And so by not being obedient, having that mantra, but doing the right thing gives you virtue. So I know I went on a tangent, but I just
No,
taking,
no, it's
absorbing
relevant.
everything what everyone said. So thank you.
One thing I'd say about that, and again, quoting David, if you want to control someone, just get their pendulum swinging, okay?
Yeah.
And I've been in situations like you described, and without having heard of the pendulum or us or anything, or even without doing it consciously.
Yeah.
If we can provoke Peter Fleming, if we can get his pendulum swinging, if we can get him really provoked and going after us, we got the son of a bitch, okay? And they know that. Because I go up there and then I come down here, and when I'm in the low, I think, oh well, I'm rubbish anyway. And the only and Dave taught me this, I let them provoke me to a high, and that's a really powerful, including in politics. It's a really powerful use of the pendulum. Vic.
David, about rejection.
Yes,
Mary and I put something in the chat that you may not have seen, but J.K. Rowling was rejected. J.K. was rejected around 33 times, and now she has theme parks and books and movies. And then Peyton Place, my creative writing teacher told me, was rejected 99 times. It was the 100th time that it became a book, a movie, and a TV series.
Yeah.
So it's, it takes what it takes, but you just have to be persistent when you're an artist.
The way I'd bring the tools in there, I would say that author, now this is stretching it because I want to, teach my tools. That author knew somehow how to make that, even the process of getting rejection slips, an accepted effort, okay? Because the same thing happened with Harry Potter. I think she was rejected 10 times. And I wonder how you live with the fact you're the person who rejected Harry Potter, okay? I mean, do you put that on your resume? Rejected Harry Potter. I don't think so. So I think it's a relevance of the tools, because I think what in a different place we call perseverance strata. David Vick used to call it spirit strata. We changed some of those words. Being able to persevere and the accepted effort, and that whoever that person was knew how to take the rejection slips and not be thrown into too much of a pendulum swing. It's relevant there. Nikki, do you want to say anything at all?
Hi. Something I was just thinking earlier about where did I wrote took a note, this inspired sentence, facing the rejected effort and accepting it. I'm like, oh my goodness, accepting the rejected effort. That's a concept I've got to do something with. I can't get what, but I have terrible time with rejected efforts, and I haven't been paying enough attention to thinking of it, like you say, with the simplicity of the jargon like that, instead of getting too sort of embroiled in the problem that I've got with not being able to do things. But there's definitely some mileage somehow in it. Just feels a bit delicious accepting the rejected effort. So I don't know what else I'm going to do with that. I'll just mute myself. Oh no, I can't mute myself. Mary has to mute me. Thank you.
Thanks. I want to mention your, I think you're right, Nikki, and it's a bit new, that thing I came up with. Accepting the rejected effort. But also that comes a lot from the other side of our work, Gestalt therapy, was, you know, accepting the monsters, okay, accepting them, you know, accepting the part of me that is a sinner rather than a virtuous man, accepting that. And I think these tools can be useful there. But in terms of the monster, this is me paraphrasing David a little bit, but he used to say, there's no lazy person. There's only a person who has not found his accepted effort. And I thought that was just brilliant. And at that time, I was working with mainly young men, but some older men who, you know, were serving time in prison, were on the skids. And just the concept, no, there aren't lazy people. They're just people who haven't found their accepted effort. And I think if you take that into AA, you know, AA provides a way to, you know, giving up booze, making that an accepted effort, making it something that people accept they are willing to do. Extraordinary.
Peter, Victor was trying to say something.
Yeah, Vic.
Just now.
Thanks. So it's really interesting to, you know, reflect on this, because what Peter said in quoting about David, and I don't remember the particular words, I do remember quite a lot of that David said, but what Peter just said about David saying, if you want to, what was it? If you want to destroy people, get their pendulum going, I think is what you said. Or you want to, you know, control people, get their pendulum going. And
Yeah,
you know what, when you said
control, if
that,
you want to control them. Yeah.
yeah. And when you said that, it put me in mind. If you go back and you look at the, you know, and this is chokes me up almost to say it. You go back and look at Hitler's speeches and what was going on in Germany, and you also Carl Jung, you know, actually had an interview with Hitler at one point. It's in his Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. And Carl Jung at one point must remember that the new technology that Hitler was the first to master was radio. And they had radio on every street corner blaring out, you know, Hitler's, you know, frenzy and passion, right? And so there was a person, they call him the evil genius, right? We could call him a lot more than that, but there's a person who got everybody's pendulum, you know, because of, you know, the wounds of the German people going back to, you know, the reparations and that whole history. But he got their, you know, that hurt. There we go, that hurt. And he got that going in a negative way. And he got their pendulum going. I mean, that was, if you look at his speeches, it's a very sobering thing to realize that this madman got control of the whole population by doing exactly what Peter just said, and what David has tried to teach us was that, you know, if you keep your pendulum, you get into that calm, you can use your emotions in a positive way. But if it's way up, you know, way high, way low, you know, you're gonna have this huge catastrophe. And of course, Hitler was a massive catastrophe, and that's the way he did it. Was he got control of it? You know, he was famous for this, getting control of people in his speeches, right? Getting their pendulum going. And there was something else I wanted to add there. Now I've forgotten it, but I wanted to make that point that how significant it is that we're talking about this, and where this can go if it's not properly understood. You know, tremendous potential for positive. The idea is coming a little bit new to me that I think Peter developed in a previous session is that if you're in the calm, you can use the emotions. You know, and Johnny mentioned the passion, right? We want to be able to, you know, if you look at, I just this morning, literally minutes before I came on here with you all, I just finished looking through the whole Pellin film again, right? And now there's a person who was the finger in the air and he was really in your face and there was this passion, but, and I only gradually have reflected on this over years, somehow he was still in the center of the pendulum. Now, how do you do that? Think about that for a minute. To me, that's part of this mystery. When we talk about this business about how do you make contribution from hurt, here's a person who could, it appeared, I almost wanted to say in the previous session, Peter, well, wait a minute now, Pellin's pendulum was swinging all the time. You know, because if you look in that film, I don't think, you know, what's going on there? This person, and I remember being in the unit, and I think somehow he was able to push the emotions out, get your attention, touch you, as Peter said, but there was still this calm center. Now, Peter, does that make sense? Because I think there's something to that, right?
Yeah, no, it really makes sense. The way I see it is the calm of a pendulum is what's going on inside us, okay? It's not necessarily the appearance. So someone can be making a passionate speech, whether David Pellin, Barack Obama, or Abraham Lincoln, or Winston Churchill, you know, the great political orators. Now, they're putting out all that passion, but my analysis of it is they were, in fact, quite close to the middle of the pendulum. And Barack, I feel, is the best example because the others had moments of terror in their lives, internal terror. And David explained it slightly differently, so I'll say that in a minute. But there's something about being able to put out all that passion, as you said, wave the finger, come on, you know. So they're claiming the charisma, and it appears to be a high. But if someone came along and said, I've got to interrupt you for a minute, they could take the interruption. If someone's in a compulsive high, this is quite technical, that person couldn't take the interruption. Well, yes, I know, but, don't interrupt me, don't interrupt me. But someone's got, you know, the Churchill, the Lincoln, the Barack, they can be interrupted when they're in their total passionate stride. And that's an indication that they're not in the compulsive high, they're much closer to the middle. And at times, if you really listen to them, the way they sort of savor the words and slow down a bit, and the bit I like when in Chicago, Barack walks out when he's won, and the family's there first, and the family goes off, and he's there by himself, and they're cheering, and then he says, pauses, and then says, hello, Chicago, and then gives his, you know, victory speech. But almost a moment of, in the middle of all that, being in the middle of the pendulum. And again, yeah, Mary.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, I studied the pendulum in such depth to get well from compulsive swings. And one of the ways I used to teach it was using the word agitation. Because in a passionate high, the way you're a compulsive high, you're agitated internally. And in a low, you're agitated with a lot of mental activity. But so I taught myself to go more towards the middle by, you know, now I could be passionate and I could check, where was I on the pendulum? Am I being passionate so I don't want to be interrupted? Or am I being passionate from this is about, like about Black Lives Matter or racial injustice? I can get very passionate. I get a red face just saying that sentence and a little bit of a swing, but it's not like this, right?
Yeah.
Side is just a little spark of what I just labeled agitation because I care about it so much.
Yeah, and if you take Dr. King and, you know, the dream speech, which is being played a lot, all the pauses he had, Yeah, he'd have pauses in the middle of a word. You know, so he says one syllable, pause, and another syllable. Just all those pauses, and I think that's almost I would claim it as a support of our work. That was yeah, Cynthia.
This is what you were talking about has given me words for something that I've tried to say a lot of times in terms of the political climate in the United States. Is that, you know, for a long time, not just now. Now the words is that the political climate has been on a high or been pendulum swinging for a long time, and I think it's spurred on a lot by the two news, you know, the 24-hour news, liberal net. But I also think, sorry about the interruption, but I also think that that's one thing that the current president is really good at doing, is keeping the whole country on a high.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We'll end there. We'll essentially be following these themes on Sunday, but I guess in particular looking at the rejected effort, because David pretty starkly called it the killer of the soul. Okay. You know, so and we'll just do I'm Peter. Yeah, I really enjoyed today. The time went like crazy fast for me. And I live in Kings Lynn, which is a city on the east coast of England. Johnny, do you want to go next?
Hello, Johnny Avila. Try that again. Hello, Johnny Avila, Los Angeles, California. And no, I really appreciate the group because of just being in lockdown. And even like today, I even woke up, and I literally woke up 5 minutes before 10 o'clock. I was up all night working on some stuff. And anyways, it was that choice of, John, do you really want to be connected or not? Here's your opportunity. Stop bitching about life. Here you go. Like, God can give you all the tools in the world, but if you don't pick up the tools and start building shit, like, well then, like, you're not supposed to bury your gold and just keep it there. And I guess in the process, I've been studying David Goggins, and I didn't know I was a David Goggins. You have to study the guy. My friend had to tell me, he goes, dude, you're like David Goggins, but white. I'm like, what? And he literally said he had to rebuild himself, like he built himself. And because he didn't have any other buddy else to kind of look up to. And I really I just find it very interesting. I feel that my life is in alignment now. I feel that when you said that your job will help you with your mental, and I was like, oh, I'm acting now. Oh, like all these other actors, like, you don't know what it's like to have a mental breakdown, go through a divorce, get locked up in jail, almost drowning in a river, and they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a gift. And just a from the community. So love, just nothing but love. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nikki?
Hi, I'm Nikki, Wimbledon, London. Thanks so much to everybody. It's been even more really interesting this time. Thank you.
Okay. Cease? I don't know if you can come in, Cease, or not. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
there. Yep, thank you.
Cease from Tampa, Florida, where it's about 95 degrees outside. I guess I want to look at, for me, accepting things without clearly understanding the amount of effort required, and just because I like the idea and then feeling discouraged when I can't really, got my dog outside, sorry. Feeling discouraged when I can't reach that goal, but it was probably a goal that was too big anyway. So being more, what would I say, realistic with goals and accepting the challenge of the ones I really want to do.
Okay. And that will be definitely looking at more on Sunday. Stacy?
Great.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. I missed the beginning, so I'm going to watch it on YouTube. And I had to watch my dog. We had furniture delivered, and I had to make sure he didn't bite them.
Okay.
But I'm glad I came. I'm glad I made it. And I'm sorry I'm late.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth from Eugene, Oregon. Today's tool set was really interesting in terms of disability and chronic illness, especially the concept of protecting accepted effort and preventing it from carrying you into a high, because I have fibromyalgia, and you could almost say that the definition of fibromyalgia is that lows manifest as physical illness. That's all.
Okay, thanks. And thanks for sharing that. Shelley?
Hi, I'm Shelley from Los Angeles, California, and I'm trying to think of how you would use this terminology to talk about how previous rejected efforts actually are helpful to whatever you're trying to do in the present. I always tell people there's something that you got from that experience that will serve you. So I'm wondering how you would describe that.
Yeah, we'll look at that next week, including how memory links relate to it, okay? Yeah. Vic?
Yes, thank you. Elizabeth, I have polymyalgia, and I'm just beginning now to relate, especially in the last little while. I've been under a lot of stress, and I've had polymyalgia twice before, and they don't know what the cause of this is. I think that's also true of fibromyalgia, but it's a high correlation between sustained emotional states of stress, and then it triggers it. And of course, I've started to have that in the last little while, and now I'm thinking of these teachings we've been discussing about the pendulum, and that's another reason to get into the calm, right? And understand this. So again, thank you everybody for sharing. I'm certainly learning things here, and there's a lot of value in this. So I'm Vic, and I'm in Abbotsford, British Columbia, and look forward to coming again. Thank you.
Cynthia?
I'm Cynthia in Kankakee, Illinois, and thank you so much, everybody. There's a lot to think about today. Thank you.
Okay. Mary?
I'm Mary of Topanga, but in Rosarito Beach, Mexico. And yeah, it's really rich tapestry today, really interesting. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for coming. Yeah, today, big for me, and I'm committing myself to getting back to the triangle on Sunday, okay? And that is surprisingly a big deal for me. Okay, bye-bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.